you to go first in asking questions that you may have, if you have some, and then I'll open it up to the rest of the group. Don't all, both of you rush at once.
My name is Rob Capricioso, and I'm with Indian Country Today, and my question's for Quentin. And I wonder, you kind of mentioned the diversity of tribes and the dispersal of Native American people throughout the country. So when data collectors are going about trying to find information about a population that isn't the same by any means, how can they do a better job? And how would you assess how data collectors are doing that with Indian populations currently for students?
I think that varies from state to state. Right now, and there are some states who do identify a student by tribe. I know in Oklahoma there was a movement to identify the student by a particular tribe, but I know a lot of states do not do that, and unfortunately, sometimes unless a tribe offers a service for that particular member, they may never know that student ever graduated. You know, they don't live locally; they live someplace else. And so, I think it would be good if all states would, ask their students if you're Native American, and if you are, then put down what particular tribe you are, or what tribal nation you belong to. I know the United States Census does allow this information to be obtained in their survey. And I know that institutions of higher education, they do ask specifically what the tribe that a student is. But also in public schools, a lot of times we do have some students who are not aware that they're a member of a particular Native American tribe.
Just a quick follow-up, Quentin. Is there or are there one or two strategies that you think would be particularly helpful in making sure that information and data about students finds its way into the hands of parents as well as into the hands of tribal education leaders that may not be happening right now?
I think one key way to do this is at a SEA level, at a state level. It's for each state, if they do have a particular tribe or tribal nations in their particular state, then they need to come to an agreement and work out a plan in which to sit down and talk about issues, make data available, to that tribal nation. I know it's a case-by-case basis. Right now, tribes can go to local school district and ask for data, and sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't. And sometimes they use FERPA, as a reason they can't do it. And so I think there's probably needs to be some changes in FERPA to allow tribal nations, Indian education departments to obtain that data. And I do know there is another organization called Tribal Education Departments National Assembly that is working on that particular issue right now.
Okay. Thank you very much. For those of you who may have questions, let me ask you if you would just go to the microphone in the center, just introduce yourself, and then ask your question, and the panelists will respond.
Good morning. I'm Jerome Dances. I'm a retired mathematics professor at the University of Maryland. And mathematics professors across the country are quite concerned that students are showing up less well prepared in mathematics than they were a decade ago. And you should be aware that, for example, in Maryland, the number of black students coming to colleges has gone up by 25% in the last 10 years, which is very good. Unfortunately, the number of black students who are prepared for college math has gone down. And this is not an accident. It's a consequence of a major change in the math curriculum across the country. And I guess correspondingly, the Maryland high school math test, on there, the scores are going up. And I see a quizzical face. And the reason is that the Maryland math test was written without consulting college professors of mathematics, and they chose the unofficial national math curriculum, which has students use calculators instead of doing arithmetic, and that sets them up to need remedial math when they get to college.
Why don't we let our panelists respond?
Let me respond to your comments. One of the things that you need, as a matter of fact, there are 4 things that you need in order to transform student performance. Number 1, you need high rigorous standards for all kids. Then number 2, you need valid and reliable assessments. If those assessments are not matched to the standards and those standards are not rigorous enough, then you'll have what you're talking about. The scores will imply that kids are performing well, but when you actually look at the data and you actually look at them perform, they perform less well. And that's one of the reasons why we had the National Assessment of Educational Progress as a benchmark to measure against state standards to see if, in fact, they're rigorous enough. And far too many states have less rigorous standards than they should have. And I think when we begin to look at data systems and look at the rigor behind mathematics particularly, we'll begin to see the difference. The other thing you will find in mathematics is teacher quality. And you have to look at data behind teacher quality. A number of mathematics teachers across this country no longer choose to teach mathematics. And so I call it retrofitting. You have to go out and get someone who is not licensed in math, and they will have 3 years to begin to take those courses necessary to get them licensed while they're teaching at the same time. That is horrendous for a child, because the research will show you that if a child is educated by a teacher who is not prepared, then they'll get behind. And if they are done that way for 3 years in a row, some kids will never catch up. So those are the things that happen. And I said I was going to name 4 things. And I did say the assessment system. The other thing is professional development. When your teachers and people who in leadership roles don't have the leadership to lead in mathematics, then they need consistent professional development. And then 4th, the accountability system to be sure that these things remain in place.
If I could just expand a little bit, because I think also what you're really talking about, too, is readiness for college, and that the idea that mathematics in our population is connected also understanding English well in order to learn math better, right? And that actually for students, understanding what that data looks like is imperative so that you can see why people aren't doing better in math, or if they're doing really well, for example, in Asian Pacific Americans, what does that really mean for certain sectors, certain populations, opportunities in classes and schools. And so I think the campaign and our focus really is around having a better look at really what opportunities really mean in terms of readiness, not just in terms of high school dropouts, but also for those who are getting high school diplomas. Are they ready for college? And if so, what really were the resources that holistically can build them to be able to be ready, including math and supportive of math?